different thing, and I actually had a question about this. I was looking it up and kind of wondering. So it's only real quick, but they do show when he goes to look for Aunt May and he ends up finding Osborn. They're at Feast, and yes, it was in the game, and that's where Aunt May is out all the time, and you go there, and that's where Mr. Negative founded it. But more importantly, that is, at least in the game, I'm a little shy on the comics. That's Miles Morales' intro to the story. Is he's working at Feast, he's helping out there, helping out the local neighborhood. And I think that's long before he has powers.
They're going to draw from that, I believe.
Peter brings him in, starts mentoring him, powerless, right? Just helping him grow into adulthood, right? Or into young adulthood. And then the powers happen because he gets involved with Peter and Mary Jane helping them, right? But what is Peter's drawback to Feast now? Are they just going to go a different route with it?
His drawback to Feast could be it's going to be what he said at the end. Yes, because when Happy said, it makes you, what Happy say? It makes you wonder if what they stood for dies with them. And Peter said, no, it lives on. He's going to continue on with that, carrying on with what May wanted,
So he's going to help out at Feast.
Yeah, I think he's going to help out at Feast.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
But I saw it and I was because I was excited about that. I was like, ooh, Feast. That is a definite entry point for Miles Morales, right? As well as, if they do the Mr. Negative the same way. But then when Jamie Foxx made the joke of talking to Andrew Garfield and was like, I thought you were black.
There's got to be a black Spider-Man out there somewhere.
I was like, I'm glad they didn't put him in. I'm so glad he's not there yet. It's not time, but I'm like, Miles Morales is we're just waiting.
But I'm sure glad to see him acknowledge.
But here's I
like the live action a little bit.
Here's the thing, people. Here's what I think. I think we've already gotten our intro into the MCU with Miles Morales. Here's why I say this. I think, this is just me, with what Sony, the now pretty great relationship, I would say. I don't want to say great, but the on good terms relationship that Marvel and Sony has going on right now. We are about to see the Spider-Verse. It's coming. First of all, Tom Hardy already said that in an interview, and I'm going to clip that into this so you guys can see that.
Or you go lateral and build the world. You continue to unpack. There's a Venom-Verse. There's a Spider-Verse. There's multiverses. There's all kinds of canon and lore and mythology to explore, both laterally and forward in time and I think with the right people and the right planning and feedback from the audience and understanding it's about making the right choices at the right time, even with foresight of understanding where things may go already or may wish to go. It's a combination of all of those in the alchemy of what it will be.
They're building the Venom-Verse, they're building the multiverse, they're building the Spider-Verse. So I think that we've already had Miles' intro into the Spider-Verse, the cartoon. That's what I think. And I think with what they're doing with the part 2 of it, or part 1 of part 2, we see Miguel O'Hara's character, Spider-Man 2099, come through, and him and Gwen have those devices on their wrists that enable them to jump from universe to universe. I think that this is all going to culminate to a live-action Spider-Verse deal where we don't have to then re-explain who these people are and how this has happened and how
right.
So cool.
Exactly. So cool. I think that's what they're doing, bro. And now we don't have to explain this. We don't have to explain that. So then it's just going to culminate to a huge Spider-Verse movie where we're going to see a live-action Spider-Man 2099. We're going to see a live Gwen. We're going to see a live. Probably even Spider-Ham.
Spider-Ham is so cool. That's one thing I always
a live-action Spider-Ham.
I'm serious. I'm not putting anything past
Spider-Noir. Just get Nicolas Cage on
and I think that's what we're gonna do. I think that's what they're doing. Because like I said,
so crazy.
Because the Venom-Verse is completely separate from the Spider-Verse. Because what Sony's doing with Venom, he's not a villain. Venom even said, Reddy, we should be eating bad guys, So he's a hero. He's not a
anti-hero hero.
Yeah, an anti-hero. So he's the Venom-Verse is so different. Yeah, it's different than the Spider-Verse.
But also,
that's what I think.
But Sony has the ability to make so much darker. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I mean that comes to it. Venom is now in the MCU. At least the Venom symbiote is.
Right.
I mean, where do you think that's gonna go? Like,
see, we disagree on that one.
I think it's going to Flash Thompson.
I think
And
going
it's
to
not
Flash Thompson.
not that I think it won't. Not that I think it won't. Or
That's
won't
usually
at
how
some point.
half these debates go. It's like a split
Spider-Man's
decision
getting
down
it.
the
I
middle.
think
We
Tom's
didn't
going
even
to get
plan
it.
Symbiote suit?
this.
I think
Oh,
he's
God.
Well,
Symbiote.
but hear me out. What I think he's going to do, what I think the symbiote would do at this point is go, I need a host. Because just like in the Venom-Verse, the hosts die, right? The only host he knows that can keep him is Eddie Brock.
Spider-Man.
Oh, it's Eddie Brock.
Well,
That's the only
because
person
the
that has been
symbiote
successful
knows him.
so far. That
Well,
doesn't-
no, I'm not saying that Spider-Man couldn't or that Flash Thompson couldn't, but I'm saying, what is the symbiote going to think? The symbiote's going to think to stabilize, I need to find this universe's Eddie Brock
He
and
needs
go
to
from
find
there.
any host.
Yeah,
Well,
but then he could end up finding Flash Thompson.
I mean, but
Spider-Man,
then you
all
look
the-
at it, and I wanted to discuss. We're going to discuss this more because this is a topic. But you have to think too. Venom, Eddie doesn't know when they got sucked into that universe. Eddie didn't know who Spider-Man was. Venom knows
did.
who Spider-Man is, and it's not, and people are probably like thinking, well, no, that's not true. We haven't seen Spider-Man in any of the Venom movies. Exactly, but we have seen we have seen Venom in the Spider-Man 3 movie with Tobey Maguire. Venom said at the end of in their post-credit scene, the Carnage post-credit scene, 80 billion years of hive mind knowledge would explode your tiny little brain. Across 80 billion years of hive mind knowledge across the multiverse would explode your tiny little brain. Right. Meaning, for Venom
knows
to
who he is.
Yes, for Venom to had known who, like when the way I said it, when he said it in the post-credit scene, when he said that guy, he said it like it wasn't like, oh, that guy. It was like that guy. Like I know that guy. Right. So it's like. I'm thinking to myself, now that a piece of the symbiote has been left into the MCU, if he's looking for anyone, he's looking for the person he knows is in the MCU.
Well, that would make sense too. Then if you take that into full effect, then that symbiote was with Spider-Man for a while too.
Well, even
yeah, he's knowing
what gets all the knowledge
exactly.
that Tom would get, right? Like that its host gets, right? So even after he has that conversation with the Mexican dude at the bar, the symbiote pretty much knows a lot that got left there because he learned a lot in that end credit scene. He learns about the Battle in New York, the Avengers, Spider-Man. He may have more knowledge. He may have more knowledge now than just that little bit of Spider-Man.
And it needs a host, so it's going to just start latching onto people, and if they
die,
they die.
Right.
Until he makes his way to
jumping.
That's what I'm.
Yeah.
Right.
But I love that. I just love that scene where they're sitting at the bar. It's just like, he's the most unhinged. You want to call him a hero all you want. He's the most poorly put together, and he's like, your alien wanted rocks, because aliens want to eat people.
He's like, we are drunk, Eddie. We are drunk, Eddie. But no, that was cool. I really liked that. I like the other connections too are the MIT connections being made in the MCU. We know that Riri Williams, who a lot of us forget about because the Ironheart comics are not widely popular. So, and she's not widely popular. But I'm hoping that I forget the actress's name playing her. I'm hoping that she can bring something to the character that we have not seen yet. So, but she will be at MIT. Now we know that Ned and MJ are going to be at MIT. So could we see a possible connection there with Wakanda Forever? And because she's going to be in Wakanda Forever, from what I'm understanding, she's going to be the linchpin. That movie's under just so much.
If
it ever comes out. If it ever comes out.
So much shit.
Let's just stop talking about that movie till we get some good news.
Yeah.
See, I think that, okay, so like with all the connections to MIT, it could be a jumping point for a lot of things. Like, I almost, if anything else is going on at MIT, I almost wish they'd make a series. A short one, because you could have Ned's evolution or de-evolution, if we're going to talk about it that way, and becoming possible Hobgoblin. We could have, which I don't know, the Sorcerer route really threw me for a loop because, like, I just maybe wanted to see more direct to Hobgoblin, but I don't know. I know there was someone saying that whenever, Peter put down the Sidious Lego, that it was like Darkseid.
Right.
That it is showing that.
People weren't catching that connection, and I was like, oh, if you were a Star Wars fan, you know.
But a lot of people don't know who Ned is, because that was a contentious thing in the Marvel comics for a long time of who is Hobgoblin.
Right.
Who is he? There were a lot of people got fired over that. There were arguments, there were debates, and it was finally Ned who had died a long time before that when they finally pinned it on Ned. Because he was who it was. And So, I mean, are they going to go that route? Could they go a more magical route with him?
It's definitely going to be a more magical route. They just.
But he was partners with oh my God, who's the main villain in Doctor Strange 1?
Oh, Mordo.
Yeah. I mean, they partnered together at certain points. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of false things, but I just think if you made back to my point, the whole series of like MIT, you could start off so many little.
Oh, yeah.
You know, tethers from there of what can be the next mini bosses or mini phrase for the beginning MCU, going into the MCU, the next phase.
You definitely could. And that made me, what you just said about Sidious, somebody said on Twitter, and it was so fucking funny. Someone said, how was Marvel able to use Sidious in 3 seconds better than The Rise of Skywalker was able to use him in...
They're not lying. They're not wrong.
They're not.
And
That's
it's
so
called...
funny. That was so
Anything
funny.
could have been better than that. I'm sorry.
But let us know what you guys think on some of those connective MCU tissues that's going on there. We all know, and I want to say this too right before I go into the give me your comments. A lot of people make the common misconception or the misnomer that you don't have to watch previous MCU projects or the series to understand the movies. Again, eat shit. You do.
you do.
You do. I mean,
Right.
you cannot go into these and not. So
That's the most expensive series that
Bro,
there
come on.
is.
Look
Like,
at the trailer
people,
for Doctor
and people say,
Strange,
"Well,
like-
Kevin Feige said, this time Kevin Feige's wrong because that you cannot watch Loki and then go watch Quantumania. You cannot watch this No Way Home and not have seen the first 2 or any Avengers because if you haven't seen those, you're gonna go into
No,
them.
if you haven't
Well,
seen
who's
all
that?
of
Why is
them.
everyone clapping?
Well, I think you could realistically, like, the way I think what he's trying to say, if you watched Doctor Strange, the trailer, the preview, basically, right? The second end credit scene, when he goes to Wanda and starts talking to her, he's like, this is not about the events, which basically, he's like, I'm not here about WandaVision.
Right.
The whole thing that happened.
And that's a
So
conversation.
then you would know, what you would know is, WandaVision happened, but they're not talking about it. It's kind of glossed over. And you would just see, we're seeing Scarlet Witch again, and she's more Scarlet Witch-like. You could bridge the gap of something happened, and now she's becoming more Scarlet Witch-like. She lost vision, but you won't know the depth of the character. You won't know what has happened to her and why she's going to be the way she is, because she's not going to be how she used to be.
Yeah, they might not though. The way they rushed the beginning of this movie to get so much info in, so you might have to go in and watch all the. I personally think you need to.
I think
watch
you
all
should.
The, yeah.
No,
you
Why
have to.
wouldn't you?
You have to.
think
I mean,
they're-
you cannot.
None of them are bad TV. Like they may not be.
Well,
the
There's just
best.
people. There's
They
just
may not be
again.
the
There's just a
best.
lot of.
Let's-
I just wanted to stop the misinformation because there are some YouTubers out there that say, "Oh, you don't have to." You do. So.
No,
So let us know what you think down in the comments about that. I'm sorry, Cody. Let us know what you think in the comments about that, and let us know what you think about some of the connective tissue that the MCU is being made here. The next topic that we have here is
None of them are bad. I can do that.
some of the
They're all
Secret
good enough
Invasion
for that.
connections well, we know that Secret Invasion is coming up. So now that when we've known, and that's my most anticipated Marvel series project for 2022.
No,
But
you
now
got
that we
me lit
know
on that
Secret
one, too.
Invasion is coming, I have been watching anybody that suspiciously looks like or acts weird. You're a scroll to me.
You're a scroll every time.
And so I think I'm saying his name right, Agent Clary, the guy that was
Clearly.
questioning
Ned
Tom and
Tom.
Ned and MJ and Aunt May. He said, when Peter goes, they were, what did he say about Nick Fury?
He said he's been off
He's been off world.
No, what did Peter say?
Well,
to
he was
Nick?
saying I'm a
that
good
Nick,
guy.
No,
like,
that Nick
ask
Fury was present in
all
the
the
second movie the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
That he knows Nick Fury knows
He was
everything.
trying to get him to act.
that-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Get
He
Nick
just
Fury in
asked
here.
him.
He
Yeah,
knows
that's
that.
what he said.
Ask
And he
Nick
said
Fury.
Nick Fury's
right.
been off road for the past year. How the hell would some regular old FBI agent
No.
know?
I mean, when Nick Fury's team, unless that was literally an entire team of Skrulls, completely possible.
Completely possible.
But I mean, that sniper, that was a badass sniper.
But wasn't that the
Like-
first introduction to the DODC as well? Department of Damage Control?
No.
Because that's specifically
No,
what else they did.
no, because they were in Far From Home. They came
Yeah.
in and cleaned up the not far. Yeah, was that? Yeah, Far From Home. They came up and cleaned up Vulture's shit, and that's what he got. That was his origin story. That's how he turned into the Vulture.
Okay, but with that, that could be an entire group made up of what they're salvaging like that. They're salvaging technology. They're going in. They know everything going on. Like
it could be. So that's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't put any. You're a Skrull. I'm not putting anything past anyone because like when Maria and Nick Fury turned from back to Talos and I forget her name. I was just like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. We're here now.
yeah, gotta suspect it.
Gotcha.
We've probably been here for a little while.
Gotcha. And that makes you wonder what heroes that we've seen so far. Who's like, is anyone a Skrull? Could Thor be a Skrull?
No.
Does everyone want to drop a guess?
You have to think about it though. In Secret Invasion, in the comics, we find out that like heroes that have been here were Skrulls. It's very possible. I'm not saying that the MCU always keeps it, direct.
But they're gonna go the route of at least having maybe one of them.
Somebody could have been. I'm telling you.
There's gonna be a couple important people that are Skrulls.
Yeah.
Do we know how long that
I don't know.
series is? Like how many episodes, or they haven't said anything about it
I
yet?
don't know. I'd have to do more research on that one. No one's really been talking about Secret. And I think the thing that it is, it's the MCU has so much going on right now. We are in a moment in the MCU where it's like, now that Spider-Man again is in the rear view, it's like Morbius, or even on Wednesday it's like Hawkeye, then Morbius, and and after
Morbius is not technically part of the MCU.
Well, even after Spider-Man, you got.
I don't know. Do we know that for sure? Vulture's in it. Do we know that for sure? Vulture's in it, and then in his trailer, there's that circle around Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man that says murderer. Do we know and the Oscorp Tower is the Andrew Garfield Oscorp Tower. So what universe is Morbius in? He even mentions Venom. Oh, remember, I'm Morbius. Oh, I'm just kidding. It's me, Michael Morbius. Yeah, no, we don't know what universe Morbius takes place in.
That trailer was so good.
I mean, we would know if he was in Marvel, though.
Would we?
How would we know? Vulture, Michael Keaton was on Jimmy Fallon, and he was talking about doing reshoots. Getting that too. He said, well, he didn't say that he was doing reshoot. He didn't say what movie it was for, but we later found out through leaked pictures and set things like that he was on the set of Morbius.
Do you think this is just going to lead into Blade?
Please.
I think so. I think, like I've said, Blade is currently in the MCU building the Midnight Suns.
Yeah.
I think so. I think he is. That's why he recruited Black Knight.
Yeah, we already saw the first little step of that.
Yeah. And I think we're going to see him again show up in Moon Knight, which, I'm hearing
no, he's definitely showing up in Moon Knight.
Super violent.
That is the place Blade
Super
belongs.
Disney violent?
Super Disney violent, because I will say, had this been a Sony-only film...
Moon Knight?
No.
Oh.
No Way Home, we would have seen Aunt May's ass get impaled, not just pushed.
Mm-hmm.
Not just pushed, because if this would have been a Sony film...
She would have died like the Green Goblin died.
Yes, if this would have been a Sony film, that's how she would have died.
Well, that was the reference, like, for sure.
No, for sure.
Right, but because the mouse was involved...
The mouse.
It was a little PG-13-y. That's that on Secret Invasion.
Just push her. Just push her over. She'll die.
just be looking for Skrulls and be suspicious of anybody in the MCU at this point. So let us know what you guys think down below in the comments on anybody that you might have seen that maybe we didn't see that you would suspect of being a Skrull.